will talk about what is cystic fibrosis, cystic fibrosis genetics, the genes and their mutations, their classes, what CF does, therapies and medicines, and possible cures for the future.
Cystic fibrosis is a progressive genetic disease that causes persistent lung infections and limits the ability to breathe over time. The cystic fibrosis transmembrane conductance regulator is a gene that produces proteins that are a passageway to chloride. Mutations in the CFTR protein cause it to dysfunction. When the protein is not working correctly, it's unable to move chloride to the cell surface. Without chloride to attract water, the mucus in various organs becomes thick and sticky.
Mutations are abnormalities. Different mutations affect us differently and in different ways. Mutations and changes in genes can be slightly different and cause not much of a problem at all or really be harmless. And at other times, those changes in genes can cause proteins not to work correctly or not work at all. Cystic fibrosis is caused by mutations in the gene that produces a protein, the CFTR protein. That protein is responsible for regulating how salt and water move in and out of cells in the body and in different parts of the body. Every person has 2 copies of the CFTR gene, one from their dad and one from their mom. In order to have cystic fibrosis, there has to be a mutation in both copies of the CFTR gene. To be a carrier of cystic fibrosis, you must have a mutation in one of the copies of the CFTR gene that you inherit.
There's over 2,000 mutations, and they are separated based on the way that they create abnormalities in the cystic fibrosis transmembrane regulator into 5 classes. Class 1 mutations are ones that lead to the protein not being made at all because there's a premature stop signal when the protein is being made in from the DNA transcript. Class 2 mutations lead to a misfolded protein that does not pass quality control by the cell and gets destroyed, and even if it makes it to the cell surface, doesn't open to let chloride pass in and out. Class 3 mutations lead to a protein that sits on the cell surface but doesn't open at all. Class 4 mutations lead to a protein that goes on the surface, opens a little bit, but opens less than normal, so therefore there's less chloride passing through. Class 5 mutations have normal protein that either has less amount of it on the cell surface, so therefore there's less chloride passing through, or it gets turned over, it gets destroyed more frequently than usual, so therefore effectively there's less chloride going. People that have at least one class 4 or class 5 mutation have slightly less defects on their CFTR function and more chloride passes through, so they have milder forms of CF. But in general, all those CF mutations create significant mucus buildup in different parts of the body and different organs.
When the CFTR protein doesn't function properly, the balance of chloride ions gets messed up, and this causes issues with salt and water balance and a different movement of fluid across the membranes. When the salt and water balance is disrupted, this causes a thick, sticky mucus to build up in the organs around the lungs and organs outside of the lungs as well. This can lead to lung infections and eventually respiratory failure, and can also lead to poor digestion and problems in the reproductive system. In the lungs, mucus clogs the airways and traps germs, such as bacteria, leading to infections, inflammation, and respiratory failure. This is why CF patients try to minimize their contact with germs. In the pancreas, mucus prevents the release of digestive enzymes, resulting in malnutrition and poor growth. Most of the time, the pancreas is already destroyed in early childhood. In the liver, mucus can block the bile duct, causing liver disease. CF can also present with patients that have very salty tasting skin, persistent cough or sputum production, recurrent lung infections, wheezing and shortness of breath, poor growth, and possible liver disease. The class 2 mutation, Delta F508, is the most common mutation in CF patients. It's present in about 85% of patients. And the new medication, Trikafta, was developed to help patients that have at least one copy of this mutation. Trikafta is made up of 3 different medications, elexacaftor and tezacaftor, which are both protein correctors, and ivacaftor, which is what we call a potentiator to help keep the channel open. Ivacaftor is also available as a medication alone to help patients with CF that have class 3 to 5 mutations.
There are different therapies CF patients can do to help their health. Airway clearance loosens thick airways, and it helps to thin the mucus. Pancreatic enzymes supplements are vital for their nutrition. And the CFTR modulators target underlying defects in their CFTR. The acapella. The acapella is PEP therapy. It's positive expiratory pressure. It helps open my airways so that I can hopefully bring stuff up and breathe better. So this is the breath in. Look at my cheeks. They flutter. And that's what's communicating to the airways. This is the incentive spirometer. And this measures the volume that I'm taking into my lungs. This is in cc's, so this is 2,500 cc's. I'm gonna try to target 2 liters, 2,000 cc's. Here we go. I got 4,000.
So this is a vest that people with CF use to clear their airways. It's like a really strong vibration. You can hear my voice right now.
Okay.
I'm Melanie, and I'm the social worker here in the adult CF program at the University of Pennsylvania. I've been here for 14 years, and I'm very involved with most of our patients. I wear many different hats and do a lot of different types of things. The main thing I do is when somebody is new and here for their first visit, I conduct a psychosocial assessment, try to learn about them.
Cures for the future. One available option that we hope we can be able to do in the future is fix RNA copies. So we train viruses to get rid of the mutation or fix the gene to do its job properly, because in CF it's not doing its job correctly, and that's why people have CF. And gene therapy is another option, and we'll train the viruses to be good, and they'll correct the mutations in the genes. Cystic fibrosis has come a long way. In the 1950s, kids were just living long enough to go to elementary school. Now, people with CF are living long enough to get married, have kids, go to college, and living a normal life. We hope in the future CF patients can live long enough to see their grandchildren.